Welcome to another episode of the Nebraska Shoot Around podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Bigelow, joined as always by my co-host, Jacob Bigelow, and also joined by a special guest this week. Obviously, things did not go well for the men's team in Iowa City over the weekend. That's really the only game we have to talk about. And Amy Williams' squad, on the other hand, landed a huge win over a top 5 team. So we figured now is a perfect time to bring Steve Marik back on here to talk about the basketball team in Lincoln that's doing some great things this season. So, Steve, how are you doing?
Hello, Jacob. I'm doing great, and hello, second Jacob also. But yeah, it's been a great season so far. A fun one to cover for my first one on the beat here, and yeah, they did get a really big one. Second win over a top 10 opponent at home, and I think their home record right now is 14-1 with 5-game winning streak inside PBA. So yeah, they got things rolling right now, and that's a really huge confidence boost to finally pick up a win over one of those top tier teams in the conference, because before that win against Michigan earlier in the season, it really hasn't been that pretty against some of the top teams in the conference.
Yeah, and that is kind of the interesting thing about this team and where they're settling in. They took care of business against the bottom half of the conference. For the most part, they had struggled against the top half and any ranked team, any kind of top of the tier team. Yet you look at the standings now, and they have wins over the top 2 teams in the Big Ten, in Indiana and Michigan, 2 top 10 teams when Nebraska faced them. Yet overall, they're sitting down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place with an 8-6 record. So I guess looking at that was a 72-55 win over Indiana in Lincoln recently. I forgot what day that was. That was
Monday night.
There we go. Yes, Monday.
So Monday night basketball.
Yeah. So I think Indiana was missing one of its key players, but how were they able to kind of get over the hump in that game? Obviously, you talked about been struggling against the top tier of the conference, but they finally go out and not only win, but win handily.
Yeah, the big thing, it was, first of all, it wasn't a fantastic basketball game, I thought. I mean, it was, aside from some of the really poor shooting performances, like I think Indiana was like 2 of 23 from 3-point range. Indiana was. And then on the flip side, you have Nebraska at the free throw line going 9 of 21. So outside of like those 2 areas, it was a fun game to watch. And the 17-0 run in the fourth quarter was what got Amy Williams and the Huskers the win there. It was just really something to behold. Everything was just going wrong for Indiana and everything was going right for Nebraska. You had Sam Hybe just putting her Superman cape on and just like going right at Indiana's defense, and nobody could really stay in front of her. She really got physical. She was given some bumps on her way to the rim. It was really quite impressive. And she was connecting on those layups too. And Jacob, I know that you and I have talked about Sam's kind of layups and her ability to knock down some of those shots close in the lane. And, sometimes she needs to make more of them. And I think she'd be the first one to tell you that, but she had him going down on Monday night. And again, you had Jazz Shelley, who's starting to find her long range touch as well. She had a long stretch of some bad performances from 3-point range, but in the last 2 games, she's had five makes and then 3 more from 3-point range. And, Sam Hybe and Jazz Shelley are going to be 2 guards that you really want to see the scoring come out. And in these past couple games, and it has been, they've been doing their part scoring wise too. So yeah, that's massive Titanic 17-0 run was really what kind of in the fourth quarter was what sealed the win there, obviously.
Yeah. 16 turnovers, 9 of 21 from the free throw line, like you said, and came out with a win somehow. But yeah. I guess when you give up 55 points, then you can go do that. So I kind of showing different ways they can get it done there.
Yeah. How about Alice? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Whoop. No, you're good. I was going to say, I was really impressed with Allison Widener off the bench in this game. She's shown some strides her last couple of weeks. The last time you were here, we were talking about how the two in-state products were just getting started. Obviously, Alexis Markowski has had herself quite the campaign with the Freshman of the Week awards, what seems like week after week. But talk about this game for Allison Widener. What'd you see from her, and what would you like?
Yeah, that's a great point. And her damage was done in the first quarter, and it's when Nebraska really needed it. She came off the bench, and like Sam Hybe showed in the fourth quarter, Allison Widener as a ball handler in the open court, I mean, she is really hard to stay in front of. Not a lot of guards this season actually have, when she gets it in her head that she's going to go coast to coast to the basket. I mean, when she's got a head of steam, she's a hard ball handler to stop. And she had, I think it was 6 points in the first quarter, and they really needed those points. She provided a spark off the bench, and, she's getting more comfortable, you could tell, and she's kind of getting more confident as well. I think that she's learning that she's able with her physicality, she's learning that she can do this against Big Ten teams and not just non-conference. And, it's 11 points on 5 of 7 shooting. She was efficient too, with 4 rebounds, 2 assists. She provides such a strong physical kind of presence off the bench that I know Amy Williams really likes, because she talks about it all the time. But yeah, they're just that learning curve with true freshmen that you kind of expect hasn't been as steep, I would say, with obviously Alexis Markowski and then Allison you can throw in there as well.
Yeah. And Allison, I saw her play in the state tournament, and that's such a huge leap in like competition level, going from Class D in Nebraska to playing in the Big Ten. And you could see the athleticism, like seeing her in the open court against girls at that level. It's like she's not even it's not even fair to have her out there with them, but it has been interesting. She's provided a spark more and more recently, it seems like. I think early in the season it was more, all right, just go make the hustle plays. And now she's starting to kind of add to the box score as well. But the last time we talked to you was that Michigan State game. And that is kind of right after that is when Alexis Markowski got in the starting lineup. And that was because of an injury to Bella Cravens. They slid her in there alongside Izzy Bourne. And she's been there ever since. And I guess, what have you seen from kind of the development of this team, both with her kind of improving into kind of like the focal point of the team? I mean, she's leading the team in scoring now. And then also the kind of development of the front court rotation around her now that Cravens has been back. I think Izzy Bourne's come off the bench a couple of times. You've had Cravens there starting, or Cravens back off the bench. Kind of how is that front court piece coming together with everybody healthy now?
It's really dynamic, and they can do a lot of different things with it. And that's, I mean, Amy Williams loves to harp on the depth, and she's absolutely correct, because yeah, you can throw Alexis in there, but when she needs a breather, you have Bella Cravens coming in, and she has that edge that I think like not a lot of the other bigs, or maybe Sam Hybe has the kind of physical edge but Bella brings it down. She really brings the fight to the opposing team, and I really kind of appreciate that about her. She's not going to like blow you away with like a bunch of scoring, but just to have her toughness out there and her rebounding, it's really great. And then what I really like about the front court right now is when you have Alexis Markowski out there, Izzy Bourne is showing how dynamic she can be, because I think it's like 4 or 5 straight games now that she's made a 3-pointer. She is able to create so much space for Alexis to get that entry pass and then just kind of quickly flip up a shot. And it's been really, really good, I think. And yeah, earlier in the season, I think it maybe took Izzy longer than I think she'd like to get in the groove. But like I said, like lately, I have the stats right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight games of double-digit scoring for Izzy Bourne. And, that's exactly what you want. And she's hit multiple threes during that stretch. And 2 out of the 4 games, she's hit threes as well. And they work so well together. We know Alexis can shoot the 3. I don't think she wants to make a habit of like doing that so often in a game, but like, with her inside presence, what she brings, and what Izzy can do stretching a defense and the toughness that Bella provides, that's a three-headed monster that you can just keep rotating in and out in basketball game. And it's worked and it's fun.
Yeah. And you mentioned Markowski's 3-point shooter. She's 14 to 25, which is just one attempt a game, but 56%. And I think that the more you see it, the more teams have to respect it. And then that creates opportunity for Bourne inside. Like she's a skilled scorer on the post as well. So if you get a matchup you like, you can kind of alternate those two going inside out and attacking matchups there. And then you can even bring Annika Stewart in as well as kind of a change of pace ability to knock down shots as a stretch big as well if the matchups are right there. So I think that's probably one of the most impressive things about this team, just the depth and the versatility and the different kind of lineups that Amy Williams is able to throw out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, Annika hasn't suited up the past 2 games, but when she does get back, I don't think it's anything long term, but when she does come back from whatever injury she has, that's a 6'3" 3-point knockdown shooter. She's again that when she's fully healthy, then that's 4 bigs that Amy can throw out there with each have their own kind of specific thing that they really excel at on a basketball court. And throwing Annika in there as well just creates an offense that is that much more dynamic because it can stretch out defenses so much more, giving like we're talking about, creating so much more space for kind of the inside game too.
Yeah, so I saw you talk a little bit about this today and your piece over at hailvarsity.com, shameless plug for you guys, about their upcoming trip. As someone who was once a student manager in the Big Ten and knows all about sleepy road trips, they get to go on arguably the sleepiest one next, and that is a Thursday night trip to Penn State. Penn State's only 9-15 in the league. They only have 3 Big Ten wins. And you touched on it a little bit about how obviously coming off the highs of a big road win and a big home win in a big environment. You obviously can't look over or look past anybody this late in the season, but that's especially critical for them heading to Penn State.
Yeah, absolutely. And glad you brought that up because Amy Williams was kind of talking about it after the game that, it's absolutely fantastic. And yes, it actually is that they knocked off number 5 Indiana at home. They knocked off Michigan earlier in the season, and it's great right now. But she really wants to see the consistency now. The players are harping on and they're touching on wanting to play 40 full minutes of strong, good basketball. And they've done that when they knocked off Michigan and they knocked off Indiana. But what Amy Williams wants to see is go to Penn State, a team near the bottom of the Big Ten, and win convincingly. Be consistent. Play like you played against Michigan and Indiana, against these lower level Big Ten teams like Penn State, like Wisconsin, like Minnesota. Northwestern is going to be a little bit of a tough game. I think they're not as bad as a lot of people think. But just going and doing your job and doing the job and taking care of business against teams that you were supposed to beat, I think that's the next step for this team before they enter the Big Ten tournament time.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I think Bigelow was talking about that upcoming road trip, but closing out the regular season, you've got Minnesota at home, and then trip to Wisconsin, and then Northwestern at home. So none of those teams are in the top half of the big conference. So I think the fact that they landed that win was so important for their resume, just because that was their last real chance before they get to the Big Ten. And just kind of looking at ESPN's bracketology now, they've got Nebraska as a 7 seed, and kind of with the up arrow showing kind of the upward trajectory there, moving on up. So I think that was huge for the resume, and you got to feel pretty good about this team heading into kind of the stretch run of the postseason here. And how it's shaping up for an NCAA tournament run, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I was writing one of the previews for this week, I said, in these last 5 games, and this was before the Indiana game, these last 5 games, that they could get out of this last regular season stretch 4-1, that'd be so good. I wasn't even thinking about 5-0, but they have a chance to go 5-0 now. And these next 4 games, like you said, they're against teams near the bottom of the Big Ten or in the middle, like Northwestern. So if they could get these 5 and head into the Big Ten tournament on a 5-game run with the win over Michigan and Indiana under their belt, man, that's got to be, they're going to be riding so high, the confidence. Like it's just going to be really fun to watch, and makes you think about how far this team can go if everything clicks, and it seems like it's clicking at the right second. But I got to go back to Penn State and doing what you need to do and doing what, you're supposed to do, which is you're better than Penn State, beat Penn State convincingly. That's what I'm kind of wanting to harp on here.
And
yeah, so that,
your
turn. Go ahead. No,
I go again. Yeah. So it's always fun doing a 3-person podcast over Zoom. But yeah, just kind of, they finally got over the hump against Indiana. Again, they were missing a key player, I believe, but 15-point loss to number 17 Maryland, and then a 10-point loss to number 21 Ohio State. Both those were on the road, so granted that's difficult to go out there and win at good teams' places. But what did you see in those games that didn't allow them to kind of get over the hump? That you mentioned just kind of Indiana, nobody shot the ball well, so that was a big part of it. But how were they able to kind of get over the hump after those back-to-back losses and get back on track and score that big win? Kind of what let them down in those 2 losses that they improved on?
Well, I kept thinking to myself when I was watching the Maryland game, it's like, wow, this team is really, really, really good. Like Maryland has some absolute ballers, and it's fun to watch. That's a great program. And it just seemed like, Maryland hit them right away, and it kind of started from the first quarter that, they, like, I don't even know what to say. It was just, everything was going so well. Maryland got on a run right away, and Nebraska couldn't hang with them right away. And that's what Jazz Shelley kind of talked about after the Indiana win, was playing 4 quarters of excellent basketball and just, really good basketball. Not 3, not 2, not 1.5, 4 guys. So they didn't do that against Maryland, and they definitely didn't do it against Ohio State. Both those scores are kind of, they were bigger losses than I guess the score might look, with just a 10-point loss against Ohio State. But both those games, they didn't get off to a good start. And it goes back to, Jazz Shelley and Izzy Bourne after the game, and even Sam Hybee just preaching that they need to start right away and play 4 full quarters of basketball, not 3, not 2.
We talked about kind of Markowski emerging into the focal point of the team. And I think we were all a little bit surprised by how well she was doing off the bench and the role that she played. She's now 12.5 points a game, team high 7.7 rebounds a game. Again, shooting 56% from 3. I guess what is the next step for her to continue? Because I didn't even see this coming this quickly, but where do you see kind of her career going? Obviously not necessarily even 2-3 years down the road, but as we head into the stretch run here and they go into the postseason, now that she's got all this Big Ten experience under her belt.
I think the next thing that she'd tell you is to shoot the ball better at the free throw line and be more efficient from just the floor in general, because, she has streaks where she's good, and then she has streaks where she takes a lot of shots and doesn't make any, like right now. So just in conference play, she's leading the team, against conference opponents. She's scoring 15.4 points per game, which is most on the team. Best rebounder during conference play too, with 8.4 per game. And again, like you mentioned earlier, she's shooting 57% from 3 when she takes them against conference opponents. But right now she's shooting 54% from the field, but at the free throw line, it's only at 65%. The next step, I think, is just continuing to get stronger, continuing to work on the post moves. And again, the free throws, because she's going to get hacked a ton in her career. She's going to take a lot of free throws just because she's going to get the ball, turn around and shoot. And a lot of girls are going to be hanging on. A lot of players are going to be hanging on her. So just right now, the 65%, she'll be the first to tell you that she wants that to be better. But I think that's kind of where you see the next step is just her strength, her ball security down there when she gets it, and just the post moves and working on improving that free throw percent.
And
so you got one more?
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I'm
you're fine.
sorry. Nope. I was going to transition. I was going to
Okay.
transition to something sadder.
I-
So we can stay positive
Well,
for now.
Actually, my question was a little like, how concerned are you, Steve, about the 3-point shooting in conference? And obviously, Alexis is doing well, low volume. Ashley Scoggin, that's what she does. She's continuing to shoot it over 40% from deep. But everybody else, Jazz Shelley's down at 27% in Big Ten play. And obviously, it's high volume and she takes some tough ones. But you're going to have to hit some of those too. Sam Hybe's at 26.5%. That's where Izzy Bourne is as well. Allison Widener, 33%. Annika Stewart, when she was healthy, you mentioned 8 of 28, so 29%. They're not getting a ton of backcourt shooting outside of Scoggin. So kind of how does that concern you as we head into the stretch run of the postseason here when you really only got one player that you can rely on to knock down shots?
Yeah, and Ashley Scoggin is that kind of one player right now they kind of feel good about when she and boy does she have a quick trigger. I really appreciate how quickly she gets that ball out. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Like they haven't been lighting it up like they were in the first half of the season against some of the non-conference opponents. But yeah, Jazz Shelley is kind of an interesting deal because like you said, 27% from three against conference opponents. But recently she's kind of started to find her touch again, 5 of 13 against Illinois and then 3 of 7 again against Indiana. But yeah, like you're right. And you know, I think Sam Hybe, her strength is going to the hole, to the bucket. And, you know, whenever a defense kind of forces Sam or makes Sam want to take a jump shot, it's a win for the defense. And I think she'll tell you that as well. But, you know, there's a healthy mix and of guards, of Nebraska guards that are really good at going to the hoop. Allison Widener's one, Sam Hybe is another. But yeah, Jazz Shelley, she needs to pick it up on the 3-point range. And I think she will. Those things come and go. Like she'll get hot again. She'll get cold again. But yeah, it's, I think if you'd ask Amy Williams this question, she'll be much more kind of worried about the inside presence and how the post scoring is doing, because, you know, if that's effective, that's just going to draw the defense in and create more shots for everyone else from the perimeter. And yeah, getting a post player like Annika Stewart back whenever she gets back is going to help out too, because I think she can be she's a knockdown shooter as well when she gets the opportunities. But yeah, Ashley Scoggin has been super good, 40% shooter from out there. And she's I think she had a career high. She had a lot of career highs actually against Maryland with 6 threes, 4 steals too on defense for Ashley that game. But yeah, it's a work in progress, that 3-point shooting as a team for sure. But it'll obviously need to be better if they want to reach the goals that they have, which is obviously making the NCAA tournament.
And Scoggin is such a cool story, just kind of perseverance. I believe tore her ACL twice before she got to Nebraska. In high school, she went JUCO and then tore it again while I was there. Amy Williams gave her a shot, and it's paid off in a big way. And it's been pretty cool to see the impact that she's been able to have on this team after everything she's gone through to get to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. She's kind of like been she started every game. She's kind of been like the forgotten guard, but she's always there, and she's always there ready to shoot and ready to stretch out a defense. But yeah, it is a cool story. I didn't know, even like when you mentioned her injury history, I didn't know any of that. And now knowing that and watching what she's doing and seeing the success that she's had recently, that's been helping the offense out. It's been really cool.
So I hate to ruin the mood, Steve, but the last time we talked, I'm going to bring up the Kings. I have to ask.
I have a revelation to tell you guys.
You have a revelation? Oh, I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah, the revelation is De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis taking over the league next year.
He's already flipped it around.
Oh, you guys are laughing. That's fine, but I see with my own eyes what those two are going to do next year. Welcome playoffs. That's what I'm just going to say.
All right.
My question was just going to be plain and simple. If you'd ordered your Sabonis jersey, and if your Sabonis jersey was thick enough to wipe up the tears from that trade, but that was. I mean, I apologize for the cruelty. I had a discussion at length with my cousin after that trade was made, and him and the notifications he received from fans throughout the day on those socials was an adventure for him. So I can only imagine how you were feeling.
Yeah, right when it happened, I was upset, visibly upset. I think if somebody would have walked by my house and looked through my window and saw me while I was looking at Woj's tweet, they would have seen my face get redder and redder and redder. Like, we did what with Tyrese? but watching a couple of the games, watching a few of the games with Sabonis, Fox seems rejuvenated. I'm talking myself into the playoff run next year. We're gonna beat the Suns, you know. I can't wait for next season, guys. Heck, we might even get the play-in tournament this year. Let's go.
I'm glad you're back in on Fox.
I'm back
after being completely off the Fox bandwagon. But just so you know, Halliburton in Indiana is averaging 21 points, 4 boards, 10 assists, 3 steals on 56, 52, 83 shooting splits.
Yeah, you know what? Tyrese is a great player. We love him in Sacramento. Absolutely love him. He loves us, but he's over there now. We're still over here. This is our team. This is Sabonis' team. This is De'Aaron Fox's team. Dante DiVincenzo is it's an awesome name. I was going to swear. Right? We got a lot of things going here. Monty McNair is putting together a great basketball team, and I'm just going to, go along for the ride. This is great. Play-in tournament. Let's go. Starting tonight with the Bulls. I don't know when this pod comes out, but Bulls are going down.
Okay. I admire the enthusiasm.
Right?
I admire it, man. I'm
better about myself talking about this.
No, I get it, man. And I know I admire the enthusiasm, but no, thanks. But no, man, we appreciate you taking the time to talk about the basketball team that plays at PBA that is performing well above expectations, and they're fun to watch, man. We've talked about them probably every week since you were on last. They just keep getting better and better, I feel like. So the stretch run should be fun for Amy Williams and Nebraska women's basketball. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for coming by.
Yep. Thank you, Jacob.
Yep. We'll definitely get you back on before kind of the postseason gets started, and so that we can again continue to celebrate the team that is fun to watch and cheer for in Lincoln.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me.
All right. Well, that was fun. Now this part is going to be less fun. We steering back to the men's team and Friend Hoiberg squad, who we talked about. Things are looking better. They got that big win. They finally got that conference win over Minnesota. They're like, all right, you got a chance here. Then they promptly go to Iowa City, and what was it, a 42-14
42 to 10
42 to 10. I gave them too much credit. Yep, 42 to 10. It was a 98-75 loss, and Iowa probably could have got to 100, but they decided to sit on the last possession there and instead of getting triple digits. So I guess that was nice of them. But I didn't rewatch the whole game. I didn't really need to. They settled in somewhat in the second half and started scoring better, but they didn't get any stops, so that didn't really matter. But yeah, this team, the biggest thing about this team is they just cannot sustain winning play no matter what happens. Even when they do some things well for a stretch, it's just going to completely disappear. And they led this game 15-11. And going back and watching those possessions, they got some good possessions during that stretch where they was getting a lot of penetration, a lot of drive and kick to a shooter, or offensive rebound kick out to a shooter, drive and dump off to a cutter for a finish at the rim. It was looking like what you want a basketball team to look like. And then it stopped. And so again, it was 15-11, and they gave up a 42-10 run after that point. And it just kept going. It was like, oh, 9-0 run. Oh, and then 22-4 run. And then it just kept going. And Nebraska had no answer. What were you thinking as you were kind of watching this thing continue to spiral out of control?
So I was sitting here with my dad. And first time all year we'd been in the same room to watch a game together. And my dad being from Des Moines, he was like, you know what, we'll watch Nebraska and Iowa, whatever. I'll get, what have you. And it got to the point where, Keegan Murray was just scoring at will. And my dad, who, he doesn't know who's good, who's what. He goes, you might want to guard that guy. You might want to guard that guy. I'm like, yeah, he may or may not have been preseason all conference, one of the leading scorers in the country. And he's like, so how do you miss that? How do you not know to guard him in transition? And I was just, that's my dad's breakdown of it. But my breakdown of it was just, if they really want to, you keep on wondering, how long can they really try to do the pace and space, 5 out, that ideology, that scheme, because you saw a team that wants to run in Iowa. They don't run as quickly as Nebraska does, but when they do it at least above average. And, Nebraska the transition that they were allowing, I think I would love to know how many of Keegan Murray's points were in transition. He finished with a new career high, 37.
I counted in the first half, it was 13 of his 24 first half points.
Well, that's a lot. That's too many. I don't know what. And we've said this, every now and again, I would love to know what the game plan was.
Well,
I would love to know what, clearly Keegan Murray's top of the scout. You heard Fred Hoiberg talk about him. You heard Fred Hoiberg say he's the most versatile player in the Big Ten. And instead of what we're used to, which is guys we've never heard of having career highs, one of the best players in the Big Ten has a new career high of 37 points, which goes against the grain of, what Nebraska's done in these games where they're able to stop the top of the scout. They let everything else, they let everyone else beat them. This was the exact opposite. It was just frustrating. It was just frustrating it was frustrating from start to finish, even when things looked well. Looked good at the start. I just felt like we were waiting for a shoe to drop. Did I expect the shoe to be a 42-10 run? No, but to say that it dropped, would be an understatement.
Yeah, that's not a shoe. That's an entire house dropping on your head. But this is a handful of times now where Hoiberg points out specifically leading in, all right, these are the things that we really need to focus on. And then they go out and get killed in that area. And transition is an interesting thing. There are different types of transition, and sometimes there's just not a whole lot you can do about it. I thought a lot of their defensive transition woes was because of poor offense. They just had no shot. And so I kind of went through, here are their possessions after they took that 15-11 lead. And most of these led to transition buckets, and this is kind of what got the run started. So first possession, Bryce is ISOing with no space. Tries to take his guy out the dribble and just gets the ball poked away. Just static, everybody standing around. There wasn't even driving lane. I'm not quite sure what Bryce was trying to do. Ball poked away. They get a turnover and turn around. Keegan and one dunk. That's one where I think, Andre ran into him from behind after he finished the dunk. So that's how he got started. Bad possession, bad decision, no ball movement, and it leads to a run out. The next time, I was kind of showing some pressure. They broke it, and Trey looked to get downhill and just had the ball knocked away for a turnover. And on the other end, they got the stop initially, but they ran a baseline out of bounds play, and Keegan popped wide open for a three. So it wasn't transition there, but a wide open shot for a good shooter. Just poor execution defensively. And it's a play where you just sloppy with the ball, loose with the ball. And the defense made a better play. Next time, Trey ISO and drove into a contested miss. Really bad shot. Wasn't able to finish it. It didn't cost them points on the other end in transition, but next time down, CJ gets the ball and like jump stops in the middle of the lane, nowhere to go, and then tries to pass to Derek Walker, who was cutting down. I don't know why he was trying to give the ball to Derek in that situation, what he was going to do with it, but bad pass, turnover, and it led to a Keegan layup in transition. Next time down, Iowa showed a 2-3 zone. They had a good possession, got the ball inside to Derek, and he just blew the bunny. And next time down, transition open 3 for Bryce. So good possession, wide open 3, catch and shoot from the left wing, missed it. Next time down, Zoe had another good pass to Derek Walker on a drive and kind of dump off, knife through the zone. That's kind of how they got to a good start. And again, Derek just missed the layup. And it led to a fast break layup for Keegan the other way. You miss layups, you turn the ball over, live ball turnovers. That is how running teams can put a run on you and get out and get those easy transition points, because you just have no shot to slow that down if you don't have numbers. If the floor is unbalanced and a team can get out and run like they can in those situations, like there's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop a Keegan Murray without a set half court defense where you can send help, you can wall up, make things difficult. So it just continued like that. Next time down was a tough kind of fading to the corner, catch and shoot 3 from Kobe Webster that he didn't make, and it led to Peyton Sanford fast break 3. Next time they finally got a bucket. Woohoo! It wasn't like it was a tough little runner from Alonzo Verge Jr. in the lane, a little bit of contact there. It rolled in, so they finally, after that long stretch, they got some points on the board. Next time down, Zoe tried to push it, got the ball knocked away from him from behind for a turnover, which led to a Keegan dunk. So again, just careless, loose with the ball, just assuming that like once you get past a defender, like you're free. You got to get that push dribble out. If you're looking to make a play there, you got to be strong with the ball. And they just weren't. It's multiple guys that just had the ball taken away from them. Bryce, Trey, Verge, those are your 3 best ball handlers, your 3 best creators with the ball in their hands, and all just getting the ball taken away. Then Trey, they had 2-3 again, and Zoe got the dribble picked again. Just taken away from him, and that's where he like dove on him, trying to recover loose ball for the foul. That's just, again, having the ball taken away from you. Next time down, Trey traveled, caught the ball, tried to attack a closeout, and traveled with it before he moved feet before he put the ball down. So it's just those are like all of these possessions during that run where Nebraska just didn't even give themselves a shot. And it's little things. It's the fundamentals. It's decision making. It's skill level. It's all those little things. They just were not good enough. And we just see too often where that's the case. And this time it all just happened to coalesce together with everybody playing poorly at the same time and Iowa taking advantage.
Yeah, I mean, we sound like broken records almost, just continuing to talk about the same, there's an argument to be made that this team hasn't changed very much since that opening night loss to Western Illinois. It could be said that you hear us refer to the little things. You can also say that after listening to Fred Hoiberg say that we just need to win one and then we can hopefully figure it out from there, that finally get that win, any sort of positive, I wouldn't call it momentum, but any sort of positive vibes or thoughts around the program, they lasted all of 4 days, not even. And they go to Iowa City and lay an egg against a team that, it's definitely, some consider it a rivalry. It's definitely not as intense in basketball as it is in football. But, to some people, you got to at least compete. You got to at least, it goes back to, what Trev Alberts said, you got to play hard, you got to fight, you got to do all this. And, at this point, you're 7-18 on the season and, you're playing for pride, basically. You're playing for pride and a little bit of the name on the front of the jersey and the name on the back of the jersey, no matter the situation. And with, they got 2 home games left. They're both 8:00 Friday night tip-offs 1 week apart. And what is there, 6 games left in the regular season? six to go after they got the Ohio State game back, and then a trip to Indianapolis. And at this point, it's pretty safe to say that, even if they get one or two wins, I mean, the needle isn't really moved. It kind of feels like we're just counting down the clock here.
Yeah, that's what we said last time. Like, what you can't afford is any more of those games like Northwestern. Like, that's the bare minimum. You have to start there. No more of these blowout losses. You've got a chance here to maybe build some momentum heading into the offseason. Now, like, it's going to be difficult, I'm sure, for fans to feel good, even if they get a win, because they're probably feeling like, oh, yeah, we'll see what happens next time. Like, there's just no such thing as this again, sustaining anything, whether it's in game, whether it's bigger picture as a program and on the season. They just have not been able to stack success on top of success. Any success they do have is short-lived, and a lot of it's self-inflicted. It's not like they ran into a buzzsaw Purdue team that they just have no shot at matching up with. Like, this year's Iowa team isn't like Keegan. So that was part of the problem. Like, Keegan Murray, they just don't have a matchup for him. They had Trey McGowan's guarding him a lot because he's their best defender, but Trey's 6'4" and Keegan's 6'8". And a lot, like, Keegan got a lot of work done in the post in the second half, and there's just not a whole lot that Trey's going to be able to do to bother him inside like that. So, like, it's just that from that standpoint, it's a tough matchup, but it's not like they've got a Luka Garza out there that they just have no shot against. Like, you should be able to at least send some help and maybe try to make some other guys beat you, but they just didn't show up. And this is I think, again, it's going to be hard for fans to believe in anything positive they see down the stretch. It's going to come with the, well, yeah, but kind of feeling. And that's kind of where we are right now in the kind of stretch run here in year 3 for Fred Hoiberg, where there just isn't, I mean, it's hard to have hope. It's hard to feel good about the direction of the program. And I don't know what you do get out of these last 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's a week ago we were probably thinking that this Maryland game on Friday night was another chance for them to win. And then what does Maryland do on the same day that Nebraska's getting stomped in Iowa City? They're taking Purdue to the wire at Mackey Arena. I mean, this conference, it just, every team seems to find something except for Nebraska. I mean, and, Maryland didn't pull it out, but still, to go to Mackey Arena and lose by 1 when, they've had as tumultuous of a year that they've had. They're 11-14, and their coach mutually agreed to part ways, not even a month into the year. And, then they get the trip to Northwestern, who ran them out of their own gym, a rematch with Iowa, who just stomped them. And like we were talking about with Steve, the sleepy road trip to Penn State for a Sunday nighter to close out February. I mean, they end the season with 3 straight road games. And then, I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't, I can't wait for the old takes exposed of me on the first episode of this podcast saying, I hope we picked a good year to do this. And we're going to go back and find that clip and just insert the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song behind me saying that. And that's the point we're at right now, because this has been, we're running out of words to describe what has transpired with this season.
Yeah. And that is a very unfortunate place to be for someone whose livelihood is words. Like, and that it's just kind of, it felt like it got to that same point in football as well. And under in the Tim Miles regime there for a bit, where it just, I was writing the same thing over and over again. It just got stale. And we're already at that point in year 3. And it's been the same thing from the start of year 3. There has been no change. Like, there's a difference between, I feel like, and obviously you work for Tim Miles, you're close. I feel like he kind of reached his ceiling there in Nebraska. Like, it was probably time to move on. Like we saw with football, it's kind of the same thing with Bo Pelini. He had reached his ceiling, I think, at Nebraska. It was time to move on. The problem is what's happened after moving on. They got worse instead of better with the choices they made. and the hires they made and the processes that those hires went about trying to make the program their own. And here we are already in year 3. There's no getting stale. This is, I mean, it's not stale where it's been the same thing over a long time. You've seen kind of what they can do. It's just there has been no feel good movements, nothing moving forward. So that is kind of where we are in year 3 already, and it's not a good place to be in, especially considering kind of how we felt at the start of the Hoiberg era, even at the start of this season, knowing what we saw the first 2 years. Felt like this is the year that he's finally going to get a chance to play the way he wants to, and turns out we were wrong. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see just what these last 6 games look like now, and how do the players respond. What kind of effort do we see on the court? What happens if they do run into some adversity? Are we going to see them kind of folding again and again like they did against Iowa? Because again, it's not like they got up to a really good start. They had the lead and it just stopped, and they could not pull themselves out of the free fall. So that's Hoiberg's had a really difficult task here the last 3-4 weeks of the season. I guess if you want something positive to focus on, I talked to Bryce McGowan's this week for a story, and nothing about like his on-court play or anything like that. It's just about more off-court stuff and the way that he's embraced the community, and in particular the local basketball community. And so I got to interview with him. I'm gonna do another interview or two, and then I'll have that story coming up on hailvarsity.com either this weekend or early next week. We'll see kind of how that comes together. But if you do want some kind of lighthearted reading, things have not worked out on the court like they would have hoped. But I think Bryce is a good kid, and definitely one that fans can be proud of to root for, at least, just based on the way he has embraced this embrace the community, embrace youth in particular, and being a role model for young basketball players in particular, and reaching out and showing his face. I don't think I've seen him say no to an interview or a photograph, and he has been asked plenty at all these games he's gone to, and he really does just enjoy that. So that'll be what I'll plug right now. We'll keep an eye out on that, and we will be back to talk about what happens in these next 2 games middle of next week. We've got the Maryland home game, and then the return trip to Evanston to take on Northwestern. So we'll have 2 games to discuss in our next episode. And like I said, we'll circle back and kind of focus more on the women's team. We'll kind of keep this thing going into the postseason to give them the recognition they deserve. But in the meantime, that is this week's episode of Nebraska Shoot Around Podcast. Go like, rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. Do your podcast chores, as Brandon Vogel says. Tell your friends, and we will hopefully have something worthwhile to discuss next week.
A Hurrdat Media Production.